First, let's let this disclaimer get through. I am not a certified CPA, a financial advisor, or any kind of legal guru. I'm just a man that's telling the stories from my experiences and experiences of others. This is a business I started at the ripe old age of 6 years old. I started a live fish bait business or worm business. I sold earthworms to local fishermen and did pretty good at it. Now, if I hadn't have been 6 years old and, hang on, if I hadn't have been 6 years old and had any knowledge at all or any advice from somebody of decent age, who knows, I might could have grown that business to be a new Bass Pro or Cabela's or something like that by now. But it was, at 6 years old, I had a neighbor give me a bunch of little wax-coated paper cups with lids from a milk company that he worked for. And I just had a natural bed full of big earthworms near my house. We lived on a farm. I'm raised on a dairy farm. And something struck me, my dad told me if I wanted money, I needed to get out and earn my own money. At 6 years old, well, heck, I found a way. You could do the same thing today. If I had known what I was doing at that time, I could have saved some of that money, invested in a better breed of earthworm, maybe sprouted out into minnows and grew from there. I could have advertised and spread my customer base out further than my local neighborhood. All I did was took a little piece of plywood, painted on our earthworms for sale, and nailed it up on a tree next to my dad's driveway. And I started getting customers. I mean, daily I was having customers. And like I said, I did pretty good. Now, like I said, if I had took that information, which back then, this is in the 60s, there was no internet. If you had investigated anything, you would have had to went to a local library or something like that. But in today's world, I could have done a Google search, or somebody old enough could have done a Google search and researched how to start a fish bait business. And I could have took those humble beginnings and grew it and advertised, and heck, in this day and age, I could have started selling online. I mean, there's so many possibilities of things that could have done even back then. But my dad had his own business he was trying to run, and we had a farm, with 200 head of cows he was trying to take care of. He wasn't worried about some little 6-year-old kid, But I could have grew that business from that. Can you imagine at 6 years old, by the time I was 20, or say 26, it would give me 20 years to grow. At 26 years old, I could have had a business that was out of this world and basically had a financial income for life. In those days, people didn't pay attention to some 6-year-old kid selling earthworms. But if I had known what I know now, I could have expanded that business into minnows, shiners, artificial bait, fishing tackle, boats, you name it. from that humble beginning, with the right knowledge, I could have expanded and expanded. I know people that make a living right now with nothing but crickets, worms, and minnows. Just a live fish bait business. But starting at that age, growing up and expanding slowly, I could have done it without being in debt, without any big giant infrastructure. But like I said, nobody cared anything about a little kid selling worms back then. They just wanted fish bait. Could you imagine that same scenario in today's world if someone lived near a place where people went fishing and was willing to help their kid start some simple little business? That kid could have grow that business into something very prosperous and very rewarding by the time they were in high school or graduate from high school. You know, all it would have took is a little research, little help, not money-wise, because I was making money at 6 years old. Heck, I mean, I didn't get rich, but I was making a good income for a 6-year-old kid in the 60s. I was selling hundreds and hundreds of worms per day. And I knew nothing about earthworms as far as keeping them in stock or anything. I just had some worms that was in the ground that I went out there. It was a natural bed of worms, and I would dig them up, count them out one by one, and put them in a little cup and sell them. That could have been a stepping stone for something larger. And I ain't putting any blame on anybody. It's just the times. Back then nobody knew nothing. I'm just using that as an example. Yes, I'm just using that as an example of what could have happened with a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of work, studying up on different types of fish bait and things of that nature. The earthworms that I was selling was just a natural earthworm. Eventually I dug them all up and I didn't even give them a chance to multiply, and I ran out of worms. And I just got to where I was digging and digging and digging, couldn't even find a worm. That's because I didn't know what I was doing. I should have found a way to feed them and make them multiply. I never fed them or anything. They were just naturally there, and I dug them up. I could have fed those worms. Now, when I started running out, then I started looking into ways of feeding them, and it was just nothing of great knowledge. Somebody said pour some milk on it or pour some cornmeal on it, just neighborhood advice that really didn't know what they were talking about, and that's what I did. And to no help, it didn't help none. I should have started the strategy of feeding them and getting them to multiply when I first started, not when I started running out. There again, I didn't know what I was doing, nobody give me any advice or anything, so I was just doing what I thought I could do until it all played out. Now I sold worms for several years. I was probably 10 years old when I started depleting the stock. So that's 4 years I could have had time to learn and what have you, and feed them and get them to multiply and get different breeds and of this nature, and worms that would proliferate better and things of that nature. Now since then, I've been up north. I was in Pennsylvania, went walking down a little hiking trail, and up there you can just scrape the leaves off the ground and there's worms everywhere. I mean, it's just like freaked me out. Big old, what they call night crawlers or something. But there's multiple species of worms. And there again, I didn't know nothing about worm castings. I could have sold the worm castings and made money there. I reckon what I'm getting at, if you start a business, do your research. Learn what you can learn. Learn how you can grow the business. Don't just go out, you have something that you can sell and sell it. If you want to make a living at it, learn what there is you can do to grow the business, to sustain the business. Just a little bit of research will go a long ways. So I reckon that's what I'm trying to say. The downfall of my first business at 6 years old is I didn't know what I was doing. And that is the failure of many businesses. People go into something halfway, not knowing what they're doing. They get big ideas, but they don't do the research. They don't think about the future. They just here and now. I think, I'm not for sure, but I think the statistics of new business companies that open up, 90% of them fail. And most of it's because people don't do the research. They don't plan ahead. They don't do a business plan. I've never done a business plan. I've studied doing business plans, and I think they're overrated. I think you do need a plan. You know, step one, this is what I'm going to do. Step two, do this. Step three, do this. You know, and plan it out for several years. You know, and you may have to modify that plan as time goes along, but at least you have a plan of attack, a plan of success. You know what your goals are and how you want to accomplish them. In them plans, when you get to a step that you're not done before, do your research, learn what you need to do. And I'm talking about do research, not just look up something on YouTube. Do some serious research. Know what you can do and how to get done what you're wanting to do. And with that being said, stay tuned. Like, subscribe, comment. If you have a story of your own you would like to tell, let me know in the comments. I'll be trying to post contact information so you can get in touch if you have a story you'd like to tell. I'm still learning how to do all this camera work, and maybe we can do a live stream and do a split screen so we can have a 2-on-2 conversation. But I have many more stories to tell of failed businesses, successful businesses, investing, real estate. So stay tuned and keep watching. Maybe we'll both learn something. Thank you and have a good day.